So I just have one question for you. Do you love your mother? He laughed. I said, "What's so funny?" He looked at me like I was a crazy person. I said, "Do you love your mother?" And he looked scared, like most 19-year-old New England boys do when a 29-year-old woman is asking him, "Do you love your mother?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Cool, you ride shotgun." It was the summer of '94, and I was going on the adventure of a lifetime. The summer of '93, actually held up at gunpoint, and unlike the other silver linings person, I really am a silver linings person. And it was actually, although traumatizing, it actually was the biggest blessing in disguise, because it really did make me take hold of my life and decide that I needed to go back to school at 29 years old to finish my degree. So off to CU I went, and I started to study, and had met a woman at my former job, and I found out that she was a travel nurse, and she was heading to Anchorage, Alaska. And she had invited me to come visit her during spring break that first semester back at school, and I went up to Alaska to stay with her. And yes, they do have some of the best weed in the world. And it wasn't the weed that made the Aurora Borealis that March really wonderful. I swear it wasn't. It was just the most amazing thing I'd ever seen, and I think to this day have ever seen. So she said to me, "Why don't you come up here next summer and actually work here? You know, I'm a travel nurse, I have free room and board. You can just come live with me for free and make plenty of money for college." So I decide, definitely, I'm gonna do it. So I put on the ride board, I put up a notice asking for a ride share. And this 19-year-old, very sweet boy from Vermont, whose parents were artists, had hooked him up with an artist in Skagway, Alaska, and he needed a ride. And we had a blast. It took 6 days. I drove him down to Skagway, and then I went back up to Anchorage, where I'd secured a position for the first time as a waitress. Oh my God, the most fun I had ever had. The best summer of my life. I was a waitress at a British-style pub on Lake Hood. Lake Hood is the world's largest float plane landing site. So all of these bush pilots would fly in to Lake Hood, and I'd be working out on the patio. It was the only restaurant at the time in Anchorage that had a patio, and it was just absolutely amazing. In July, I was about to turn 30, and I just got a wild hair, and I decided to get my first tattoo. So I was thinking to myself, I got there in May, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna get this tattoo on my 30th birthday. What is it gonna be? And I decided that I was gonna do my name in symbol form. You know, I thought about all these different things that people, impulsively put on their bodies that are permanent, or at least semi-permanent. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna actually put my name in symbol form. That way it has some meaning. So then I had to decide where on my body it was gonna go. Now, unlike my mother and my sisters, even though I'm a tall, big woman, I was not ever graced with the same endowment that they have. So the boobs were out of the question, because I didn't want what I was gonna put on there to take over one of my breasts. So I decided instead, I somehow landed with it going on my left hip. I knew I didn't want it actually visible to people, except for people who I really wanted to see it. So what I did was this name in symbol form. My name is Laurel Amsel. And if you were to Google the word Amsel, you would see blackbirds come up, because it's a very common bird in Germany and Austria. And of course, laurel, the first thing that comes to mind for me is a laurel wreath. So my older sister, who has her master's in medical illustration, drew this very special picture for me. So on my 30th birthday, I go and I take it to the tattoo artist, and he goes and puts it on my left hip. And he does this red-winged blackbird, representing my last name, with a laurel wreath in its mouth, representing my first name. But what also is in there is my middle name. So I love to do this little game with people whenever tattoos get questioned, like, do you have a tattoo? Which I'm an advisor at CU, so that's one way to bond with my students. They ask me, do you have a tattoo? And I say, oh, yes, I do, but I can't show it to you because I love my job. And so I tell them to close their eyes and to visualize a bird flying in the sky with its wings expanded, just soaring. And I tell them, what do you think of when you have your eyes closed and you envision a bird flying, soaring? And usually I say, what one word comes to mind? And usually that word is freedom. And I say, great, that's what I was hoping for. When you feel free, what then comes about? What kind of sense do you feel when you feel free? And for me personally, when I feel free, it gives me a lot of hope, and my middle name is Hope. So I have a red-winged blackbird that my sister drew with a laurel wreath in its mouth, soaring in the sky, and I always thought that would be the first of many tattoos, but actually it was so special to me that I flew the coop, and that was it. Thank you.